Well, the world has still gone nutty, buddy, even downright cruddy, buddy. Wish I missed the past, buddy, but there's still Buddycast. No, don't be nutty, go meet everybody here on Buddycast.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder and host of Buddycast, Nick Sorensen.
It was the eve before Friday, and you know what that means. Another episode of everybody's favorite show, Buddycast. I'm your host, Nick Sorensen. Joining me today is a new buddy, my buddy, Brian. How you doing today, Brian?
Hey, man, it is so good. I love your intro. I'm going to have to get me one of those every time I come on the Zoom or something.
Mm-hmm. I'll send you a few buddies that can help you out.
Oh, love it.
Mm-hmm. So if there's anybody out there that's kind of thinking about, has this business idea on their head, they don't know where to go, Buddycast has your answer tonight. Am I right, Brian?
You certainly do.
Awesome. So, Brian, what's that Ben Franklin Technology Partners in the background? Tell us about that.
I absolutely will. But first, I am such a fan of Buddycast. I first learned of you when you were awarded the Erie 40 Under 40. Then about, a couple of months ago, you were on Joel and Natalie's show, Talk Erie. I was like, I got to check this out. And it's really good. I've listened to, half dozen, maybe 10 of the shows. And I love it. I super love it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And congratulations on your 300th show the other day. That was super cool.
Thank you. You're actually episode 304.
Cool. Very cool. Well, so the Ben Franklin Technology Partners is a venture development organization where Commonwealth-wide and exclusive to those folks that are building businesses in Pennsylvania. And we do three really important things. We've been around for 40 years, so we've gotten pretty decent at what we do. One is we invest in startup companies, startup technology companies, or even existing small manufacturers. And when we find companies that do both, boy, that's a real home run for us. So we provide real capital. We also provide something that I think is even more important than capital. At some point, all of the entrepreneurs in our portfolio have said, the money was great, but all of the support from the business technical to the finance, to the legal, to HR and research and on and on and on, and all of the introductions that you made for me to help me grow was way more important than the money, because it sets them up on a platform for success. And then the third thing we do is in all of the communities that we have offices and throughout the entire territory of central and northern Pennsylvania, what we find is that really great entrepreneurial companies have a much more difficult time being great unless their community is also great and supportive. So we work really hard on knowing the people in the community, supporting their entrepreneurial initiatives and activities, and really creating this stew of everyone sort of jump in and let's get going and let's get started and jobs created and having a whole lot of fun. And that's what we do. We get to do it every single day.
Awesome. So it's kind of like the philosophy of give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man a fish, feed him for life, in a way.
Well, that's true. And we teach, and then we stand right beside you and help you if you need it. We're hopefully your first or second phone call when you run into issues or when you're trying to figure something out. We will be there for our companies till they don't want us anymore, which really hasn't happened that much.
Nice. I really like that. I like that you're not just like, okay, here you go. Well, it was fun. See you later.
What's the philosophy of a buddy, right? The philosophy of a buddy is you're going to be there for your friend or your buddy when they need you, and sometimes just to be there to celebrate the successes. So, we like to think of ourselves as an organization that lives the Buddycast philosophy.
Love it. Love it. So how did you find this line of work?
I am the luckiest guy in all of Pennsylvania. I swear I have the best job. So I I'm originally from St. Louis, went to Penn State, went back home to St. Louis, did most of my professional career in St. Louis, did a lot of startup stuff, was successful in a few instances, miserable failures in a few, but I learned a whole lot, and it was really a lot of fun. And so when I finally exited, sort of a larger exit in May of 15, I didn't know what to do because I'd been an entrepreneur my entire life. And so I started just sort of going back and hanging around entrepreneurs because I liked them, and I was one, at least I used to be one. And it was really a lot of fun. And I thought about if I could find a job doing this, right? Helping entrepreneurs, helping them get money, getting them connected. If I could find a job doing this, boy, that would be super awesome. So fortunately, I got a Penn State alumni newsletter one day, and it read. It was talking about Invent Penn State, which is Penn State's entrepreneurial initiative. It's been going on now for 8 or 10 years. And I'm reading down through, and I'm like, Ben Franklin Technology Partner. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. What's that about? So I clicked on the link. I read a little bit about it. And I called a guy. I just literally randomly just called a guy and said, what is this? And we talked for about an hour. And after that, he said, based on your background and everything you say you're interested in, you should come work for us. And so he said, throw your resume in. We have this position available in Erie, Pennsylvania. Sounds just like what you're interested in doing. And I said, cool. Where's Erie, Pennsylvania? I literally had no idea. So anyway, wound up here, interviewed, Now I've been living in Erie and servicing the North Pennsylvania from Erie and Crawford to Mercer County. I want to tell you all about Mercer County. We got a really cool thing going on there. Out to Clarion and Warren and Forest. We're just having a ton of fun. And, I get to go around to all these great places and work with all these really interesting small business owners and entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm. And that's really your passion that wakes you up in the morning and makes you go, I get to go to work today, rather than, I got to go to work today.
No, I mean, can you tell? So, Nick, any of us who are fortunate enough to work at Ben Franklin Technology Partners, or even work in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, we're constantly surrounded by people, young, smart, engaging people, looking at the future, looking at what can I do to make something better, or a better process, or a piece of software, a 3D printed something, or whatever. It is so cool to every single day be talking with 3, 4, 5 different folks that have an idea about how to reinvent or invent the future. I mean, who would not love that? It's such a thrill to be around some of these folks.
Wonderful. So tell us about your day-to-day activities. What does your job involve?
So it varies every day, which is frankly the thrill of it. Some mornings start off with meetings with entrepreneurs. I'm a big breakfast meeting guy, as maybe you can tell. Mm-hmm. I love going to breakfast meetings. So we'll have a discussion about, what are they doing? What challenges do they have? How can Ben Franklin be helpful? And we, sometimes days start off like that. And then it'll go into supporting existing portfolio companies through a series of discussions that we call the transformations meetings, where I'm meeting with companies regularly, every day, certainly multiple times a month, talking about how to sell, or how to market, or how to hire, or what questions to ask, or just all of those kinds of things in support of our companies. We also invest in companies regularly. So sometimes I'll be working with companies refining their story, or making sure that what they're doing aligns with the business model that they've said that they want to pursue. So it's any of that and everything. There's not a whole lot of administrative work, which is really great, because while I do emails, I'd rather talk with people or sit around and learn what they're doing and sort of put things in shape or in place to get them successful. So it's all of that stuff, and I do it every day, and I do it monthly. And I've got this amazing group of colleagues that I work with who are just some of the smartest people on the planet when it comes to entrepreneurism, especially here in the Northwest, but really across our 32 county footprint.
Awesome. Who are some notable people that you work with? Who are some good clients?
Who are the companies you're asking?
Yeah, who are some clients that you work with? Some clientele that you...
Sure. So So we don't think of them as clients per se.
Yeah.
We really think of them as partners or portfolio companies or companies we support. Well, why don't we start off with a couple in Erie, and then we can sort of go around the Commonwealth if you want.
Yeah.
Most people are probably familiar with Blind Tiger, the non-alcoholic spirit-free cocktail that Rebecca Stein has created as a startup coming out of the pandemic. That's a company that we've invested in. We love everything that Rebecca is doing. She's doing something super cool. I think it's a little bit of a secret, but it involves Room 33, which is the restaurant that she and her husband Rob own, and Blind Tiger, and they're going to do a really interesting mix up of that. So work with Rebecca on that project.
She's going to be on Buddycast soon.
Oh, is she really? Well,
Yep.
tell her I said hello because
Will
she's
do.
awesome. She's super awesome. And ask her about her secret plan to conquer the world. So that's the thing that I'm not sure I can tell you, but maybe she can.
Sounds good.
We have a tech entrepreneur. His name is Cass Wright. Cass is 10 tons of spectacular. He helps students understand what their career path could be or should be. So it's a college and career readiness technology platform that he's developed. He makes it available to schools. Students in schools will do these various learning modules, and he's making incredible results. He helps students. Well, there's one student. I mean, he's got dozens and dozens of stories like this. He helps students find the money to go to college. The FAFSA form is probably the most complicated thing in the history of mankind. And he has this system and they just breeze right through it. And kids are getting all kinds of money to go to school. So we've invested in Cass's company, which is called myreadinesscoach.com. Really great guy. We have an industrial company that's producing the next generation of brakes. It's called Sphere Brakes, and the tagline is, if it moves and you want it to stop, Sphere Brakes. And the founder's name is Aaron Lewis. We met Aaron 8 years ago. He was just coming back from the desert. He was in the military, and he had sketched out this idea, literally sketched out this idea on some paper. And he brought it back and he said, I've got this idea for a new kind of brake. And he's doing it. He's working with the Marines. He's working with the DOD about putting this new braking system onto their next generation of vehicles. So, I mean, it literally runs the gamut from food companies to tech companies to manufacturing companies. We have these kinds of companies all over our footprint. We have medical device companies. There's a company here in Erie called WaveClear, which is helping decalcify heart valves. It's all this technical stuff, but he's literally going to save hundreds, thousands, millions of lives over the life of this product. So, I mean, it's super cool what we get to do, and the people we get to do it with are just the best people on the planet.
Wonderful. So tell us more about the process. Like, let's say a buddy of ours is watching this episode, comes to you, hey, I have this great idea. I'm stuck on X, Y, and Z. How can you help them?
Yeah. So what's really critical to understand is that ideas don't matter. The only thing that matters is execution. So if you have an idea and all you're doing is thinking about it, that's great. But at some point, if you want to do something about it, you really need to reach out. And reaching out to us is super simple. Obviously, we have a website, benfranklin.org. What you do is you go on there and you pull down a menu that says, which county are you in? And you click on that county. It'll pull up the map. It'll pull up that website. And then you put in your information about contacting us or whoever it might be, that the county that you're in. And then, thank you, on the lower third, benfranklin.org. That's us. And so, so that's one way. Obviously, email, right? You can email us at, my email address is Brian Slawin, BrianSlawin, at CNP for Central and Northern Pennsylvania, cnp.benfranklin.org. That's super long and boring. So the easiest way to reach out to me is on Twitter, Ben Frank Brian. Just send me a direct message. I get dozens of those a week. and I will reach back out to you, and we'll set up a 30-minute Zoom call, or maybe we'll meet for coffee. And literally, it just starts with a conversation. So many people literally just call or reach out or connect, and we have a conversation. And then months later, they're a funded portfolio company. So just start. Now, we operate under a project or a philosophy called the no wrong door philosophy. So maybe you don't necessarily want to reach out to me because, you know, you're seeing me on the Buddycast. You're like, that guy's kind of a weirdo. I'd rather reach out to somebody else. Anyone you reach out to, whether it's someone at the chamber like Jordan Fuller, who's spectacular and is the director of entrepreneurship, or you're reaching out to anyone in the Beehive network like Jake Marsh up at Penn State, or Brad Gleason at Gannon, or Abby Lewandowski at Mercyhurst. I mean, really just reach out to almost anyone at the co-working community like Sean Fedorko. I mean, anyone should be able to get you in touch with me simply by saying, I saw this guy, or I met this guy, or heard about this guy. Can you get me connected? We're pretty well connected. But the idea behind No Wrong Door is it doesn't matter if you reach out to me and my organization isn't the right one for you. And I will tell you straight up front, well, you're not right for Ben Franklin, or more appropriately, Ben Franklin isn't right for you. But here's the organization that you are absolutely right for. I will absolutely make sure you get an email introduction. I'll follow up with a phone call to make sure you're connected. And then you can move your idea forward into action with that organization. Another organization that's super helpful and very important in the ecosystem is the Small Business Development Center at Gannon. Maggie Horn runs that program. Again, I forget how many tons of spectacular cases. Maggie has equally amount of tons of spectacular. It's really an important organization within the ecosystem to help people go from idea to activated.
Awesome. You and me will have to talk after this episode.
Good. All right.
Alrighty. So do you guys offer, you mentioned like meetings, everything. Do you offer anything like, let's say, online programs, like online events, like web shows or live streams or forums, anything like that?
Yes, and yes. So probably the easiest place for most people to see the content that we produce is at the Ben Franklin e-learning center. It's on our website. Go to benfranklin.org. You'll find the central and northern Pennsylvania version of it. It's the learning center, the Ben Franklin Learning Center. All of our stuff is there, from webinars to seminars to, how do you raise money? How do you hire your first employee? How do you take your idea out of your basement and turn it into something? I mean, just all of that stuff, hundreds and hundreds of hours of content, all free, by the way. There's no cost to any of this stuff. It's all free. So all of that is housed there. Every quarter, we create something called the Tech Accelerator. As a matter of fact, on the 28th, so a couple of Tuesdays from today, on the 28th is the Ben Franklin Food and Beverage Tech Accelerator graduation and pitch night. So it's a 10-week boot camp. They're graduating, and their graduation activity is to actually pitch their company, the thing that they took out of their head, took out of the garage, and actually did a thing for 10 weeks. That's occurring on the 28th. So all you have to do is go to our website, sign up. You'll be able to watch for free. It's a webinar type program, and you'll see these companies pitch. You'll actually be able to vote to award $1,000 for the People's Choice company. So we do that every quarter. We also do a program called the Big Idea Contest. Right now, our Big Idea Contest is in partnership with the PA Wilds. So if you go to, I think it's pawildscenter.org, you'll see the Ben Franklin Big Idea Contest. And we're going to award somebody $50,000 to get their idea off and $30,000. I forget my numbers. The $30,000 first prize, is it 30 or 10? I forget. You got to register and show up. But the big idea is $50,000, and we're looking for these interesting ideas that we can help commercialize. So we do all kinds of things like that. I am very frequently, as are all of my colleagues, out in the community providing presentations on any number of topics, from the importance of diversity to how do you raise your first dollar, and on and on and on. So we try to be out in the community as much as we possibly can, providing services, providing support, providing content. And, it's fun to be out in the community because people come up to you and tell their idea, and we can help them make it real.
Awesome. So, buddy, throughout all this, you sound energetic, you sound positive, it sounds like a great job. Give us a success story.
The best job. It's not a great job. The best job.
The best job. Give us a success story, a time when you really made an impact with a client, a time that you saw the fruit of your work.
I mean, buddy, it's ongoing. Mm-hmm. Every single day we see the neat things that result from the collaborative efforts that Ben Franklin and the company and other resources in the community provide. I'll give you an easy one, but there's probably, there are literally dozens of others that I could share with you. So last October, we had what we call our Big Check event. A Big Check event is quite literally people we've invested in. We give them a big check, right? Yeah. And it was this whole thing, and we partnered up with Gannon, and we had it at the where ETI and the SBDC are. We had it in their lobby, and it was super fun. There was food and people and everything. So there's a company in Mercer County that is run by all women. It's an all-woman run technology company. We met the founder of that company, or I met the founder of that company in 2016. It took us almost 2 years for them to go from, well, you're just not quite there yet, right? There's an interesting idea, but here's what needs to happen, and here's how we're going to help you. And it took about 2 years for us to finally go, yep, now it's real. And so now we've put ongoing investment into that company. They're really starting to scale. They have a product that's aimed at the domestic violence, victims of domestic violence, and they're getting all kinds of traction. The company's name is OhanaLink Technology, and their product is called Purple, which is the color of domestic violence, but the color of the ribbon and that sort of thing for domestic violence, or I guess against domestic violence. Anyway, super cool company. I love the story because it started off with, I've got an idea, but I don't know how to do this. Like, yeah, that's where we are strongest, is when people just have an idea, but they're not sure what their next steps are. We help them along the pathway. We call it crawl, walk, run. That's how we work with companies to help them get going. There's that story. There's dozens of other stories where there was a gentleman who ran a behavioral program at one of the local hospitals, and he started his own startup. He just exited for lots of zeros. And so now he's going off and doing more great things with the money he got. And I think they have like 100 or so employees here locally. So it's all fun and it's all good. And I like I said, it's the best job.
Wonderful. You're right. It does sound like the best job, especially with all that success, with all that stuff on there. So one thing else I wanted to talk to you about, you mentioned this a little bit offline. I want to ask you, you do broadcasting yourself a little bit, don't you? With Ben Franklin?
We do. So every Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern, in the Erie market, it's at 105.9, 103.3, or 15:30 a.m. But you can also see us broadcasting live on Facebook. And the show's name is Entre Radio 814. So entrepreneur, just shorten the first part, Entre Radio 814. And we typically talk with 3 or 4 entrepreneurs. We have someone come on and talk about a particular theme, whether it's entrepreneurial or women in business or diversity, equity, and inclusion, or just a theme of the day to sort of wrap all the rest of the content around. And we broadcast every Friday at 8 a.m. Our inaugural show is this Friday on St. Patrick Day.
Ooh.
Tomorrow,
Yep.
as we record this today, and we're super psyched and could not be more appreciative of the opportunity that we've been given to partner with the Erie Regional Chamber and Growth Partnership. They're our presenting sponsor. It's me and Jordan Fuller, who I mentioned earlier, and Rebecca Stein, who I mentioned earlier. It's the three of us who will host, and we're just going to talk to entrepreneurs and have a whole lot of fun and tell their story and help them continue to move forward in all of their pursuits. So, Entre Radio 814.
Love it. So, buddy, you kind of mentioned this earlier, but where can we learn more about Ben Franklin? Where can we learn about the line of work that you did? You mentioned your website. You mentioned a few other places, but just refresh our memories.
Sure. So our specific website is cnp.franklin. So C for Franklin.org. Now, I know Buddycast is global. So if you're looking for Ben Franklin information in general, like you're watching this overseas or somewhere else in the U.S., just go to benfranklin.org, drop off the CNP part, benfranklin.org, and you'll learn all about the program and the history and what we do. And, you know, the folks in Philadelphia do different things, invest in different things. The folks in Bethlehem invest in different things. And then our partners, our brethren and sister and our colleagues in Pittsburgh, everyone knows them as Innovation Works, but it's Ben Franklin for Pittsburgh. Same sort of thing. So you can go there. You can learn all about that. You can also, we're very active on most social media channels. LinkedIn, I think, is one of our most active channels because we're always pushing content. We're always engaging with people there. Also on Twitter. I'm sure some of our folks have Snapchat or TikTok or whatever goofy thing is the most popular thing today. Mm-hmm. But our websites for sure and LinkedIn for sure, and you'll be able to figure out what you're doing, who's best for you, how we can be helpful to you, and then there's ways of reaching out.
Wonderful. Now, buddy, I've got two more questions for you to make this an official Buddycast.
All right.
The first one, you said this a little bit before, so I was trying to stop you. I'm like, wait, hold on to that question. But it's brought to us by my buddy Jonas Kane at #Positivity. He wants to know, in your own words, what does it mean to be someone's buddy?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I think it's kind of a multitude of things, right? So being there when you're, I've always hoped to be the person that if you called me at midnight and said, I need help, I'd go be helpful. I do that every day. I think when I think about who my buddies are, that's the kind of response that I'd want, right? There's a friend of mine. I don't know where my phone is. There's a friend of mine who is my in case of emergency person, right? I think of that as certainly being a component of being a buddy. I also think buddy is someone who's honest with you. So a buddy isn't someone who goes, yay, like always cheerleading or always whatever. Sometimes a buddy is somebody that says, have you thought that through all the way? Are you sure that's the best thing for you to do? Now it might be, and they might go, listen, go away. I'm going to do this. So shut up. Okay. Then a buddy knows, all right, they've made their choice and off they're going to go. Now, obviously, if it's dangerous or financially ruinous or whatever, maybe you press a little harder. So I think it's a combination of always being there, always listening first, and then being completely honest with somebody where you have a relationship that says, listen, I love you too much to let you continue down a pathway that I think might not be good for you. I'm sure there's probably some other things mixed in there, but those are the three things that come to my mind first.
Brilliant. And you're absolutely right. A buddy, that's how you determine a real buddy from what we call nutty buddy, Like a real buddy is like someone who absolutely will support you through everything you do, but at the same time, you have all these ideas in the air. They're like, okay, come on back down to earth. Come here.
Yeah.
They're not just the cheerleader. You can do everything, all that.
Well, in a weird sort of tying things together, the role that I play at Ben Franklin is to help an entrepreneur not get all distracted and chasing after all the shiny objects, right?
Mm-hmm.
You really do have to stay focused. And so I guess at some level, that's a buddy. That's someone who's trying to be honest with you and hoping to get the best for you. So that kind of a thing. Obviously, you're not someone's mother or father or their nudge or their helicopter parent or whatever, but you definitely want to be honest with your buddy. And then if I have a friend right now who is doing something I think is really stupid and just totally wasting their time. But this is what they're going to do. And so, you know what? I'm going to support them. I'm going to be there to try to be helpful. It's not going to turn out good or well, or whatever the right word there is. It's not going to turn out, but I'm going to at least be there to be helpful as much as I can.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So the final question I have for you today is what we call the ultimate Buddycast buddy question. You ready for this one?
Wow, that was quite a wind-up. Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. For anyone out there, and you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but for anyone out there who has that business plan, that dream on their heart, they come to you for the start. What's your advice to them?
Well, I mean, so the first thing is how brave do you have to be to actually reveal to some dude that you just met on the internet about the idea that you've had for a week or a decade, right? So just the bravery of that is really impressive. So because of that, and because I've been there and so many of my colleagues have been there when we had an entrepreneurial idea and were finally brave enough to share one, we honor that they do that. So the very first thing they do is approach us, and then we listen. We listen to what they're doing. We honor that they're doing this and probably pretty scared that they are, and they're seeking our help. So we honor that. That's the first thing that we do. Second thing we do is we start looking at the technical aspects of what it is they're trying to do. Is this better as a thing inside of another business? Is this really a total business? Does this person have all of the resources, both personally and from their network, to actually execute on this idea? So we're starting to now look at the specifics. And as we find things that may or may not be their strong suits, we're going to make recommendations, or frankly, we're going to ask the question, how are you going to do X? A great answer is, I don't know. That's why I'm here to get your help. And so then we'll provide that help. So we're trying to now look at the technical aspects of a business. Then we're going to look at the financial aspects of a business. Is this a super great thing, but there's only 10 customers in the whole wide world? That's going to be a really expensive thing if that's all there is 10. And then we're going to try to help them figure out what's the marketing strategy, how many people do you need to hire. So we're looking at a dozen or so elements of a company. And then as we work together and we refine those ideas and it becomes executable, then we're going to provide capital, and we're going to provide all that ongoing support that I talked about, and off we go. So it's a lot of fun, and people are really like the more into it, right? Right? Am I still with you? Mm-hmm. Did I drop off?
You froze there for a second. Here. We call it a walk.
So the more momentum begets momentum, right? So the more you go, the more you go. And that's what we try to generate.
Wonderful. Well, buddy, thank you so much for being a buddy here on Buddycast.
Oh, you're welcome. This is super great.
Stick around for a minute. We'll chat afterwards. But for all my buddies out there, this is my buddy, Brian. Please, if you have that business idea on your heart, you don't know where to go, you don't know what to do, this guy can most certainly help you. I can attest. So, but buddy, before we close out today's episode, I have one favor to ask you.
Yes,
I have
sir.
one favor to ask you. Whatever you do today, tomorrow, next week, next month, even next year, please promise me you'll go out and be someone's buddy.
Oh, you can count on it. You can count on that. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks, Nick.
Yep. We'll catch you all next time here on everybody's favorite show, Buddycast.
Well, the days are going fast, buddy, buddy, we've got to make them last, buddy, buddy, before they've all gone past, buddy, buddy, tune in to Buddycast. But don't feel none, it can make it, buddy, here on Buddycast.